Welcome to this afternoon's session. And once again, I'm David Bates. It's my great pleasure to be able to introduce Professor Yushi Nomura. Professor Nomura is a two-time liver transplant recipient who speaks about medical care, ethics, and the patient experience. He's a native of Tokyo. He graduated from the Oyama Gakuen University and then worked at the Education Department of the World Council of Churches in Geneva. He received a Master's in Divinity from the Yale Divinity School, and there he met Henri Nouwen, with whose direct encouragement he wrote Desert Wisdom, which is a collection of sayings from the 5th century desert fathers and mothers, which has been translated into 8 languages. He's had 2 liver transplants, which I think he will tell you about. And with no further ado, we're very, very pleased to be able to hear from him today. Please welcome him. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me for this very special occasion. As I was introduced, I had a liver transplantation 27 years ago, and that was due to hepatitis B cirrhosis. But then recurrence was so severe that 1 month I had an operation in April of 1990, and in May they closed it down, and the whole world they refused to accept the hepatitis B patients until later they discovered a way to repress the viruses. Therefore, from that age, probably I shouldn't be boast, but one of the longest living post-hepatitis B liver transplantation patient in the world. Thank you very much. And of course, it is not because of my effort, but thanks to the donor who gave up his or her organ, and also thanks to the top-notch medical people supported me. And 5 years passed. Generally speaking, they say after you survived 5 years, you are kind of free of that thing. And then I thought that means always there is a fear of rejection occurring any time. But I was doing okay. At the same time, I thought I should get myself ready to accept whatever happens after this precious, graceful extra 5 years I received. And then I thought, after I go, my wife, who is really a loving person, she would feel very lonely being left alone. And then I seriously prayed the Lord, if it is Lord's will, please give us a new life between us. And indeed, and then I wished that I can live until this baby would be born, and she did. And then now my greed was growing so big that I wish I could see her going to kindergarten. Now, I want to see her going to grade school, high school. Now, my expectation is, I wish I can attend her commencement, which is coming in next April or early summer. And then to support herself, she was taking a rather interesting job. And of rickshaw girl, this is. And in Asakusa area, if you are interested in visiting, now she's not pulling, but there you can see those many rickshaws. And even not only that, this is father's pride. She became a pin-up girl as a rickshaw girl. And she, so far as Japan is concerned, she might be the very first person who was born of post-liver transplant parent or supported by 3 lives, mother's father's and also donor's life, that is supporting father's life. Again, this is a medical miracle, and then which is handed down to the next generation. My proud daughter, Yuka Christie Johnson, may I introduce? Why don't you stand up? And then she's assisting me all the time, rather than physically, but technically. I'm not good at computers. Now, let's get into the point. I put this title, A Patient's Point of View, because I'm no medical professional, but in terms of patient, I piled up quite a few experiences, particularly in hospitals in the United States and also in Japan. I don't mean to make a kind of comparison, but that was very helpful to kind of generally see what hospital really means from my point of view. Some of this content may be offensive to you, or embarrassing, or just laughable. But at least one point I can promise is, this is my honest confession, taking this opportunity I want to share with you. Now get serious like a university professor. Safety of life. Question. Where are the safest places in our society to stay in any time, anything happens, still that will be safe? Yes, prison and hospital. What do those residents of those two places have in common? They are there despite of their own desire. And they are carefully watched on a 24-hour basis. What about their accommodation, you want to know? Just in case? Which is which? Of course. And then, do you want to know their fashion and then their gourmet menu? Sure. This is their fashionable dress. It's very immediately going to be a talk of the town if you walk out like this. But sometimes they're enchained, like so. Now, gourmet food. Which is which? Of course. But I found this time from the United States, there's a new news. Latest book they were published in the United States is this. How about this? Too bad. This doesn't exist. That means for you guys, this must be a good chance to introduce ramen to hospitals. At least that's very popular, it seems, in prison. Now, let's look at the differences. Prisons are in isolation in a remote place and not really friendly. When you visit, it is not easy to get in. On the other hand, hospitals are very friendly, and then hospitals have beautiful sisters. Who are they? Yes, hotels. Probably hospitals and hotels, they can share their mutual inspirations. One university in Tokyo, and then also a very well-known hotel, they cooperated. Result was, this hotel restaurant in a hospital, even patients can go and eat. Like so. Let's have some kind of imagination of this is a hospital waiting room where I'm staying now, to be honest. How can we make it like hotel? I can give you a good model from Baylor in Dallas, Texas. This is patient's waiting room. Actually, hotel and hospitals, they have even an older sister. Who is she? Hospice. Yes, indeed. They are pretty old in origin. At the time of Crusaders, there were hospitalers who were running a very sophisticated hospitals in Jerusalem. Hospices were, since then, the places of hospitality for the sick and wounded and pilgrims, naturally. Thus, they developed into pilgrim part hotel, sick and wounded are taken care of by hospitals today. Therefore, they are sisters. And then in terms of modern hospice, as you know, generally considered that this was the starting point. St. Christopher's in London, started by Madame Cicely Saunders. That was 1967. Doesn't it look like a resort hotel? This view, look at this. This is what patients can observe from their windows. Actually, this is the America's first hospice where I used to volunteer to, and which is in Connecticut, in East Coast. Are there any older modern hospices than Cicely Saunders or St. Christopher's? Yes, I found. Where is it? In India, in Kolkata. Established in 1952, and then St. Christopher's 67. So a decade and a half ago, already it started. By whom? Mother Teresa's. And then she was rather bold to name it. This is so nice to say it's her home, Mother Teresa's home for the sick and dying. This word dying was right up front. Later, in her 80s, somehow she changed the name of this institution, not as a home of the sick and dying, from the home of the pure heart. Now, hospice and hospital. Let's stick to hospital. What's in hospital? Health organization. Yes, indeed. What's health? The state of being healed? Yeah, that's correct. Actually, health, heal, if you're tracing back, they are going back to Indo-European term, which I cannot pronounce, but let you look at. And from this word, they were born. And then they have also another brother or sister, which is whole. But unfortunately, in English, this means empty place on the wall or something. So in the 15th century, they added W to this. So now today, we have to spell like this. But when you say holistic, you don't put W to this. That original is still remaining there. So now, anyways, whole is related to heal and health. How so? What's the wholeness then mean? Actually, YMCA logo helps this for us. It says body, mind, and spirit. This is the whole human being. These three aspects in good balance. Again, body, mind, spirit. And then mainly the hospitals are taking care of body and then also supporting mind, people with the mind problems. But spirit, which department should I go to get my spirit? Oh, checked out. What is spirit? Good question. Why should hospitals deal with it? Because right in the middle, there is a hint to think about it. As you know, that famous WHO definition of health, when WHO was established some 70 years ago, was it? Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And physical, mental, and you might feel something is missing. And then in 1998, they suggested to make an amendment to this. This is the text. Which part are suggested to change or add? One thing is dynamic process. Human life is a dynamic, it's not static. This is a very good point, I think. Another one is to add spiritual. Now, body, mind, spirit, which was missing over there, are suggested in this amendment. Spiritual, indeed. We feel pain, probably at first physically, but it doesn't immediately, it conducted as a mental pain. Ouch, what happened to me? But deep down, it reaches to spiritual pain. So to take care of pain means in those three layers. Spiritual pain. What happened to me? Why me? What's the meaning of living? And all those things are coming to patient's heart. Although rationally understanding partially, although I got the very good medical care, but still inside, this confusion and chaos is going on, and I'm trying to find a way out. Therefore, the spiritual change shakes the foundation of one's existence. After all, patients are enchained by spiritual pain. Watch out. Spiritual pain is contagious. Physical cut, you cannot convey to any other persons. You only suffer. But spiritual pain, your family members, beloved ones, their heart also hurts. Not only the heart, but their lifestyle would change. Yuka got to come this way to my hospital, totally opposite from her home, after the school on the other side of the home. So she got to change her lifestyle. And also, some of you might be realizing that so far as you're taking care of patients as they are, now their pain is your pain. You are forced to share the pain. Then how can they be saved from it, free from it? Nobody can save it. Only they themselves. Well, this is a little bit put away. Why? Because the spiritual pain is an existential problem, the question of one's own dignity as a person. So that's not a gift given from the others. You yourself got to reach to that point. Therefore, what you can do to him, her, would be to stay with them. Not try to guide or suggest or advise, but stay with them and then sojourning together until they find the light of spiritual joy, even in the middle of their paths of spiritual pain. Spiritual pain wouldn't go away altogether. Nevertheless, when they find spiritual joy, there is a hope, there is a way out. Because spiritual joy enlivens and lessens physical pain, even physically. And it invites positive attitude of calm self-acceptance of who you are now. As people go through this, they need time and space to be alone, to reflect upon themselves. A space for contemplation as spiritual support, that could be just a little empty, quiet space, or chapels, prayer rooms. Do you know what this sign is? Maybe some of you have seen on your way back up here to Tokyo. Yes, that's airport prayer chapel. All denominations, or even non-religious people could go there and have a quiet time. That would be really nice. You have a kind of small corner like that in a hospital. From spiritual pain to spiritual joy. This is the word of Mother Teresa. A beautiful death, Mother Teresa said, is for people who lived like animals to die like angels, loved and wanted, not all alone. As we have seen, they are deriving from the same word. There's another one coming out from this. That's holy. Isn't it rather interesting? Holy is related to wholeness and then healed stage of health. So somehow those health is sustained by something holy, maybe very inspirational. Now, coming back to hospital, what do we have? Third part, what shall we do? Total care of a life. A life sounds a little funny in English, I guess, but total care of not mass of people. It's not mass production, mass healing, but person to person, individually, respecting that person's wholeness as they give total care to that. Now, a question of life. Life, after all, is our ultimate concern, of course, so far as we are living. What is life? Well, this may be a grade school question, but let's check dictionaries, what they say. The condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter. Yeah, correct. The existence of an individual human beings or animal. Okay. Without glasses, I'm reading. The period between the birth and death of a living things, especially a human being. All those correct, but it doesn't say much to us, do they? In Chinese character, as we also use in Japan, how do we write life? This is life in Japanese and, of course, in Chinese. But this letter has another meaning to it. That is order. What are the relationship between life, living, and order? Order is something you receive some kind of your boss, or you tell your subordinate. And life? Actually, there is an idea of tenmei. You see the life down there, and then another letter above it. Tenmei means heavenly order. So your life is not just a matter of by accident. Life is not that matter that you are living, but its heavenly order has been given to you. You live at this time in this place. And although I didn't put it here, when we call the day of person's death, we call it Mei Nichi. Nichi means day. Mei is this May. Life day. No, it's the day he died. But why? It's the order day. So this heavenly order gave us life. And then now there's another day in near future, in all of us future, the heaven will tell you, okay, that's enough. Let's come back. That's the day, regardless if you are glad or unhappy or you protest, that's heavenly order. It's the kind of very basic notion among this part of the world. But this may not sound that unique to even those people who are from a Judeo-Christian, even Muslim background. Why this heavenly order? The Old Testament, Genesis says, your life is a result of heavenly order. God created you. God gave you life so that you will live. So there is something common between us, or the notion of the life in the East and then also in the Bible. Concerning to the Bible and life in Greek, since the Bible is originally written in Greek, it seems like they are such a sophisticated language, probably thanks to all those philosophers of 4th century BC. And then they really sharpened and then deepened the meaning of each word. So they don't just say inochi or life, either bios, zoe, or pshke. But pshke is a little odd. Often pshke is translated as soul, heart, or individual life. So not necessarily exactly the life we are talking about now. Yes, soul and heart are part of it, but nevertheless, in that terms, the real life are these two, bios and zoe. Are you familiar with these? In European languages, particularly as far as I know in English, bios turns into prefix of bio. Now, zillion things you can come up with. And then when they find bio something, even stock market goes up these days. How about Zoe? I'm going to test you. Come up with some English words derived from Zoe. You may have a girlfriend whose name is Zoe. Yeah. Do you know what? That was originally from Hegva in Hebrew. That means Eve in English. Adam's wife, Eve, that means life. And that was in Hebrew, Heva. So that was turned into Eva. And in English, Eve. But the Septuagint, that is a Old Testament translated into Greek from Hebrew before probably 300 and something before Christ, they interpreted the meaning of Eve, Heva, as Zoe in Greek word of life. Now, so that's girl's name, Zoe, you know. How about another one? I'm going to give you a real good one. You shouldn't be disappointed. Yes. Zoological garden, that is the garden to study Zoe. So there are very few in modern, our society, in English at least, who, that are those words, the vocabulary coming out of Zoe, but plenty, too many with bios. But if you look at the New Testament, all through, bios is used only 11 times. When Zoe was 134 times. So obviously, the Bible was very much interested in Zoe. And not ignoring, but bios was a secondary matter. But in our life, bios is most important, and then Zoe is a second, third, tertiary matter. If you're comparing it to the zoo for Zoe, I would introduce Natural History Museum for bios to study biological items. You should go to Natural History Museum, and they are well described about the stories behind nature, animals, and exhibited like this with the stuffed animals. But when you go to the zoo, and if they only put stuffed animals, you wouldn't accept that, because you should be like this. Real animal hopefully enjoying their lives there. This liveliness, that energy, that making them lively and happy, that counts. So Zoe is something to do with that inner energy, not just kind of analytical outlook of the animals and plants. So let's see some other aspect of it. Bios is the matter as it was defined in that dictionary, the period between the birth and death. I prepared something funny. Yuka, could you put this to somewhere around there? No, yeah, that is it. That's it. Can you hear the noise, sound? If you can, could you, somebody raise a hand at the back, sitting? Okay, good. Guess what this is? What does this represent for? Yes, the babies who are born right now in a nearby hospital here, or in the middle of a Sahara Desert, or in Sudan, or even a kind of those bullets are fired under the ruins. There was baby born. In some palaces, one click happened. And then we realized quite a few while ago, I was one of those clicks. Now, nextly, I'm going to introduce you something you've never experienced among us. Could you put it no, how about here? No, but separately. Okay. Now you know what it means. Those are the people passing away at this moment in the world. After longevity surrounded by happy family or traffic accident, gunshot, whatnot. Could you do it again? Okay. Don't worry, we're gonna become one of those critics in future time. So is this life from the moment of birth and death, and does it end there? Before that, what was it? These days, even medical technology is really reaching to that sophistication of even dealing with DNA and everything. Therefore, you could produce babies between a couples who are not able to. Nevertheless, we are not far from creating DNAs themselves. We are just jiggling with those. So beyond that click, that's unknown where that's from. And then medical technology tried to prolong it, yet never be able to take away death from that life. It's a matter of just prolonging it. And whether you make it meaningful or not is pretty much up to the patients, maybe. So the BIOS idea is concerning from here to here. Let's put that behind those aside. And this is also a length, longevity is a good thing. 10, 20, 30 years old. This patient survived for 5 years, 27 years from the organ transplantation. We can only measure the length of time. We have watch, but it only shows when it is now and how long will it be until dinner time, and so on. What doesn't it measure? The depth of time. Even you are sitting together, watching same movie, some people are kind of really impressed and having a deep time, when other ones, oh, it's so boring, let it go. So even spending the same time together, the meaning, the depth of time is different. But fortunately or unfortunately, we haven't invented the machine to measure how deep this person is experiencing this time. And then maybe it's reaching to that level of life energy of Zoe. And of course, BIOS is a matter within time and space. So when somebody goes out of this time and space of ours, that's it, bye-bye, too bad. But Zoe is, in a way, you could say eternal time or go beyond our sense of time and space, probably. And then one theologian puts it, BIOS is more extensive when Zoe is intensive. Intensive, not only the meaning of like intensive care, but inner attention to deeper inside. And then BIOS is measurable in many ways. Let me take your blood, and then half an hour later, now I see what's happening to your body. But Zoe is like a depth of time. It's immeasurable. And probably quality of life is not only dealing with BIOS part of our being, but it's really how deep we feel and thankful. So therefore, maybe it depends on person to person. So we may have to pay attention towards that. And this is a little beside the point. There is an idea of entropy, which is totally foreign to me, so I shouldn't really get into this. But it's a kind of thing that usually well-organized thing, if you leave it, it deteriorates. And the whole world, whole nature is also breaking down into big rocks, turning into small pebbles and then sands or whatnot. Gradual decline into disorder is a general trend. But there's an idea of negentropy. That means that is going against it, not letting it go fall apart, but rather pull it together. Yes, on the earth, life is it. Animals and plants, they get the things together and then forming lives. That power of Zoe probably is working there too. Now we've seen hospital, in my own way, it's health organization. And the spirituality counts. And the total care of a life, that means of life. That makes hospital. Hospital, I would say, is a grand life-supporting force on the planet. And I respect you and then praise you and envy you so much that you are directly connecting to this grand force to support life. Thank you very much. Actually, excuse me, I have to thank Dr. Kawakita, who is running the whole thing from Japanese side this time, because he is the one who picked up an ugly duckling like me, some 1 year ago to put into this seat. And then thanks to that now, I was able to sing my swan song right in front of you. For last spring, I was told that I got stage 4 colon cancer, and then some 20 cancers with the 2-centimeter diameters are spread all over my liver. Therefore, I have been hospitalized, and then, but the chemo really worked on me. They checked the DNA of my cancer, and then that had a good fit. So they tried it, and it worked very well, and it's now shrinking. Now, even to the stage of, particularly the colon part, surgically able to remove. And they planned it for last Thursday. I said, no, please not. I need to deliver this message on Monday. And they understood, and then they prolonged it on coming Thursday. So unfortunately, this is the only moment I can attend this meeting, and then on Thursday, you may be ending with a very successful result, and then going back to your country. If that moment, if you remember, please pray for me. I'll be on the operation table. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Nomura. That was incredibly inspirational. This is a small token of our appreciation.
Oh my goodness, thank you very much. I gladly take it. Thank you, thank you.
So let me just announce that the buses will be going to the network reception from 6 p.m. Besides the A block, please follow the hostesses. Next is the annual general meeting. And please thank Professor Nomura just one more time.
Thank you very much. Yeah.